Okay, so hello everybody. This will be part three and the final part of the Rise of Bahamaut card review. And Merry Christmas, everybody! This video is probably gonna be coming out somewhere around Christmas. So yeah, just wish everybody a good Christmas and hopefully um, you enjoy your Christmas, happy holidays, and look forward to the new year to come. But without any further ado, let's get back into the cards. So first, the previous episodes, I guess, we covered everything from neutral all the way to runecraft, and now it's the last two classes remaining, forestcraft and swordcraft. So starting off, we have swordcraft, and it's legendary, Albert Levin Saber. So he's a 5 cost, 3/5, slightly understated. He has Storm, um, pretty good, he can attack immediately, and he has Enhanced 9. Can't be damaged until the end of the turn, and this card is played and can attack twice per turn. So, mm, personally, I feel this card's synergy level, but what am I saying? Okay, I'll start off simple. The card itself, I think it's a generally all-around good card. 3/5 stats for 5 costs and with Storm is pretty reasonable. You take away 2 attack, but you get a 3 attack Storm. Um, and its Enhanced 9 makes it much more flexible. It can be used for clearing fields with the can't be damaged until end of turn effect, so you can play it um, and then basically it clears off your opponent's field because it can attack twice per turn. With Storm, you just run into your opponent's followers and clear them off, and it won't die since of course it can't be damaged, or it can just be used as a finisher. Since it can attack twice per turn, as long as your opponent doesn't have any wards, it can attack face and basically deal 6 damage for 9, which is not too bad, I guess. Or it can just be played as its 5 cost 3/5, which not bad. So yeah, generally it's just a good card. I don't see much synergy with it, but overall, its effect is just pretty strong, I think. But as you know, not Forestcraft, Swordcraft has always been less combo and more of tempo and fighting for the board, so I guess it doesn't need much synergy. So next we have a 3 cost amulet, Castle in the Sky. Reminds me of Laputa. So it's a countdown 15 amulet. Jesus. And its effect, whenever an allied follower comes into play, subtract 1 from this amulet's countdown. And last words, give +1/+1 and Storm to all allied Swordcraft followers. So, what personally, I feel this is one of those amulets that will never ever sort of find play. Um, Reason is because well, firstly, it's countdown 15. So if you want to subtract this to 0, you have to play at most 15 followers if you want to subtract in one turn. And if not, I would estimate if you play an average of 2 followers to 3 followers per turn, it will take about 4 turns to get its effect to trigger. So um, yeah, let's assume it's a 3 cost, 4 countdown amulet, as long as you continue playing followers. And its last words is give +1/+1 and Storm to all allied Swordcraft followers. So first, it's all allied Swordcraft followers. So any neutral followers will not be affected by this effect. Secondly, it's only a +1/+1. And third, Storm. So the reason why I feel this card is kind of bad is first, it's an amulet, so it triggers at the start of your turn before you've played anything. Your opponent's not just gonna sit there and let everything get +1/+1 and Storm. They're gonna clear off your minions, they're gonna attempt to banish this amulet. They can do a lot of things. So it is highly possible that you go into the start of your turn with nothing on the board. And this basically has just wasted your time. Secondly, it's all Swordcraft followers. So if you have anything that is neutral, isn't affected by this. And so yeah, it's basically a honestly, I just feel it's quite a useless amulet. Apologies. I don't see it being played much. Maybe in Arena, you can draft this and go for some insane combo plan. But other than that, I don't see much. But of course, the cards here are liable to change their effects. So, of course, I'll keep a lookout for this card. But at its current state, I think it's very unplayable. So next we have Amelia, Silver Paladin. Um, it's a 4 cost, 3/4, reasonable. And Fanfare, put a Gelt Vice Captain into your hand. Then change its cost to 0 if there are at least 3 enemy followers in play. So Gelt is this card, a 2 cost 2/2 with Fanfare, gain +1/+0, and Ward if you have a commander in play. So I believe Amelia herself is a commander, correct? So this card, its optimum scenario would be when your opponent has 3 enemy followers. Sorry, my throat's not feeling too well. So the best part, the most optimum time to play this card would be when when your enemy has at least 3 enemy followers, and you play her onto the field. So basically, her effect triggers, you get a Gelt Vice Captain into your hand, then its cost changes to 0, and after that, immediately you play him. He gains the +1/+0 because Amelia herself is a commander, and Ward. So basically, you're getting 4 cost for 5/6 worth of stats. Wait, no, +1. So 6/6 worth of stats, which is pretty good. You even has a ward that comes with it. So optimally, this can be a very strong play on turn 4 if your opponent's playing a more aggressive kind of deck, or it can be used in the late game just to generate some pressure. And overall, it's just a good card. I can see the problem with this card though. If your opponent is the kind of plays the kind of deck that only plays single big followers, which there are not many of, but some decks do, this card can get a little bit less valuable. But of course, no matter what, you still get the Gelt Vice Captain. Just that his cost isn't reduced if your opponent has less followers. So overall, it's just a solid card. Can be played in many decks, probably leaning more towards the mid-range. I would say it's comparable to the what's that card? The other paladin from Darkness Evolve, where for every single enemy follower, summon a ward, a 1/1 ward. So yeah, generally a solid card. So next we have Fangblade Slayer. An 8 cost 3/8. Pretty bad. But its effect, it has Bane, okay. It has Rush, that's pretty good. And whenever this follower attacks an enemy follower, deal X damage to the enemy leader, where X is this follower's attack. So, personally, this card I feel is quite strong. It's Bane and Rush. These two effects allow it to destroy enemy followers very easily, of course. Bane being the effect that destroys any enemy follower that this follower battles with, and Rush being the turn it's played, it can attack enemy followers. So basically, when you play this down, you're probably looking to kill something on your opponent's board immediately. And its second effect, when this follower attacks an enemy follower, deal X damage to the enemy leader, where X equals to this follower's attack. So basically, even if your opponent has put up a ward, you can still kill your opponent if you just play this card. Say your opponent's at 5 health, they have like I don't know 13 ward. As long as you play this card, you buff it up, buff its attack by 2, which can be done by evolving it or giving it some other Swordcraft buff, and attack the ward. Even if this follower dies, it still does the 5 damage to the opponent, which basically wins you the game. So it's a very flexible card. The only problem I feel is its cost. So this will probably go into a more late game control Swordcraft. At least that's what I feel. But other than that, it's an interesting and certainly very playable card. So Jet Vice Captain, we've already discussed him just now. Just a solid card. I wouldn't play him. Mm, well, I take back what I said. He is playable in decks if that have a okay amount of commanders. Uh, Personally, I just play a lot of the aggressive Swordcraft, but if you do play mid-range Swordcraft, it is definitely worth adding him in there, as long as you have a good number of commanders to use to proc his effect off. So basically, it becomes a 3/2 with Ward for 2 costs. That's pretty worth. So yeah, overall decent card. And next we have Geno. I don't know, Geno. Let's go Geno. Levin Vanguard. So he has Rush. Oh, he's a 4-cost 4/3. Okay. He has Rush, which allows him to attack immediately for enemy followers. Or he has Enhance 6. Gain last words, summon 2 knights. So knights being 1/1s, which are officers, yes, followers, officers. So you would be playing 6 cost. You'll be playing this card for 6 cost and having 6/5 worth of stats. That's reasonable. Where this would have Rush to attack whatever enemy minion first, and then the 2 knights would summon after it gets taken out. So I guess it can be used in 2 ways. I guess his enhance effect. His enhanced effect can be used as for the more annoying effect, where basically your opponent has to deal with the 2 knights even after they've dealt with this card, which yes, it's a pretty strong effect. Or it also can be used just to leave something on the board, like if you're low on resources and you have to clear something, you play him for his enhance. You take down whatever you have to take down with his rush effect, and you still have a little bit of board presence with the 2 knights that are left behind. So personally, I feel he's a playable card, probably in mid-range Swordcraft for his cost. And of course, his enhanced effect does make him more flexible. So as a 4-drop, he's okay. As a 6-drop, he's okay as well. So yeah, that's about it. Next, we have Cyclone Blade. It's a 5-cost spell. Choose an allied follower and deal X damage to all other followers. X equals the attack of the chosen follower. So basically, how this will work is you use this card and target an allied follower, and its attack is dealt to everything else. Not everything else, all other followers, both including yours and your opponent's. So everything except both you and your opponent's face, and that follower that is chosen gets hit by this card's effect. So what I'm interested in. So continuing on, we have Monica, Cloud Hall Admiral. Her fanfare, unevolved, is Summon a Knight. She's a 5-cost 4/4. Summon a Knight, which makes the overall stat 5/5. Pretty good. And her evolve is deal X damage to an enemy follower, where X equals the number of allied followers in play. So it's reasonable. So if you compare this to Dragon Warrior from Dragoncraft, basically, Dragon Warrior gains +1/+1 stats when he evolves and does 3 damage to a enemy follower. This is kind of similar to that, where the card gets +1/+1 on evolve, not like the usual +2/+2, but it does a certain amount of damage to an enemy follower. But this time it's X, where X is the number of allied followers in play. So at the very least, you will do 2, because her and the knight she summons will count as 2. If you have 3 followers, it's basically as good as Dragon Warrior. If you have more, then it's outvaluing the Dragon Warrior card, which is basically good. So overall, very strong card. It gives Swordcraft some more removal, which they've been lacking a little bit. Swordcraft has mostly been buffing their own followers to make efficient trades with their opponent followers. So giving them some removal, I feel, is good to balance their game plan out. So overall, it's a very good card. Probably mid-range, a more mid-range card. So what else do we have here? We have Samurai. It's a 2-cost 2/2. Fair enough. And Fanfare, gain +1/+1 and Bane if there are 3 or more enemy followers in play. So once again, it's another if there are so many enemy followers in play, gain this effect kind of card. This card is okay, I guess. I guess it's more of an I would say it's okay in the early game, just as a 2-cost 2/2. And in the late game, it can be annoying for your opponent because you play a 2-drop that becomes a 3/3, and it has Bane, so it can clear off big minions that your opponent has. But in the early game, this card's got to be slightly weaker. So personally, I feel it's playable, but there are better choices, like just now the Gelt Vice Captain card. So yeah, I don't think it's unplayable. Certainly playable in a more late game, I guess, deck that wants more flexibility in its small drops. But of course, there are better options in my opinion. So yeah, okay. Next we have Thief, a 3-drop for 2/2, quite understated. Clash, draw a card. Yeah, that's it. So since being a 2/2 and a 3-drop at it, it's probably only gonna survive 1 attack, which means it's basically a 3-drop that has 2/2. It's basically a 3-drop 2/2 that says Fanfare, draw a card. Wait, no, it's not even Fanfare. Well, it kind of is because have to think about this for a while. Okay, so if you do draw a card, it kind of makes up for the stat reduction, which makes the card balanced. However, if you don't draw a card, assuming that your opponent takes this card out with a removal spell, then you're getting quite understated because 2/2, you play a 3-cost 2/2 that just gets taken out, and you don't even get to draw a card. So it's basically like you wasted your turn. So yeah, I don't see this card being very good. If it was Fanfare draw card, it would still be quite playable because Swordcraft can do with some card draw, but it's not. It's Clash. So if this were a bigger follower, like with higher stats, I think it would be playable. But it's just too small. It's 2/2. At most, it survives 2 battles, maybe 1. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's a very good card. Lastly, we have Blitz Lancer, a 3-drop, 3/2. It has Rush, and that's it. So basically, it's probably a clearing card to take out enemy followers. It's good. I can see it being playable. Personally, I think it will be played more in Arena because in Constructed you have better options. Better options being things like, no, not the Thief. They don't have any. But what was that card again? The one in Darkness Evolved. Or was it Classic? I don't know, but I can remember in my mind there are better options to play. So yeah, I wouldn't play this in Constructed that much because usually Swordcraft um, takes a more active role in the game. Like, how do I say this? Like, Swordcraft isn't the one that stays and wait for people to react. There are not that much sword control Swordcraft. Like, um, it's more of the more active kind of decks where they play followers, they fight for the board, they try to attack the enemy, try to push, put on pressure. So yeah, this is a more reactive card, of course, with Rush. Basically, you play it to attempt to deal with something that your opponent has played. So personally, I won't play it too much, but I can see it being playable in things like Arena. So not too bad of a card. Its stats is not too bad, and with its rush effect, suddenly makes up for the one less health. So that's it for Swordcraft. Finally, we're moving on to the last one, Forestcraft. Take a drink of water. So we have its legendary, of course, of this set. It costs 4/4. Ouch, that's pretty bad. And rush. Um, so it can attack on the turn it's played. Okay, last words. Randomly put one of the highest cost Forestcraft cards, excluding itself, from your deck into your hand at the start of your next turn. Change its cost to 0. Okay, so let's see. Let's analyze this. So last words, randomly put one of your highest cost Forestcraft cards, excluding itself, of course, from your deck into your hand at the start of your turn and change its cost to 0. So it's a little bit confusing here because it says last words but at the start of your turn. So basically, let's get this right first. So first it has rush. So you play it for 8 and it's 4/4, so you probably run into something and then just die. But that's fine because its last words effect is the one that's important. So when it dies, nothing happens, but at the start of your next turn, one of the highest cost cards in your deck, and mine, it has to be a Forestcraft card, comes into your hand and its cost turns to 0. If you ask me, it's a insanely strong effect. Why? Reason being, it's because the cards in Forestcraft, I feel, have always been strong. There's combo Forestcraft. There's a lot of Forestcraft cards that have always been strong. Even the late game cards. I remember there was a dragon, a sort of a dragon card that at the end of your turn, was it? No, if you played 2 other cards this turn, when you play this card, all enemy followers cannot attack on the next turn. That card, at first I looked at it and I thought, oh, it was quite strong. But then I never got to play it. Reason is because, first, its cost was a little bit insane. It's 8 cost, which means you needed to play 2 other things during that turn. So it has to be a 1-drop, a 1-drop, or a 0/0, and itself. And that's already 3 cards. So I feel that its cost was just a little bit too high to make it playable. But this card, of course, changes that. Since it changed one of the highest cost Forestcraft cards from your deck into 0, once again, as many of you know, the Forestcraft combos start to roll again. They come and do their, I don't know. What are some combos that with high cost cards I can think of? I don't know. But as many of you know, you can probably start thinking of the combos that you can start to do with this card. Based on tempo wise, I think this card is pretty bad in that you're playing 8 cost for 4/4. That's a pretty bad stat line. So you probably have to save off your evolve ops to evolve it to make sure that you don't get out tempoed by your opponent. Other than that, most of its effects are quite strong. The rush does certainly help with to deal with some of the board presence your opponent will have and some of the tempo he will lose. So yeah, generally a very good card. I think this will be included more towards the late game Forestcraft decks because it's 8 cost. It's yeah, it's a little bit expensive for the early game Force Craft decks. So moving on, we have Selwyn's Command. Selwyn's Command. It's summon a Sky Strike Raptor. Okay, it's probably somewhere there. Enhance 8, then put a Grand Archer Selwyn into your hand and change its cost to 0. Really? Well, let's see what a Sky Strike Raptor is. Okay, Sky Strike Raptor. It's a 2/1 with Storm. Okay, so basically if you wanted to, you can just use this card as a deal 2 damage card to anything. Which, okay, it's not bad. Its enhanced effect is what I'm looking to though. Put a Grand Archer Selwyn into your hand and change its cost to 0. So I believe Grand Archer Selwyn is actually 5. Wait, no, 6 cost. It might be 5. If it's so, then it goes out. But the reason why I think this card is better than just Grand Archer Selwyn himself is because of the effect change its cost to 0. You pay more for this card and get 0 for Grand Archer Selwyn. The reason why I say it's good is because, as you know, Forest Craft needs to have their combos, and their combos involve playing cheap cards, so they can play a big number of cards this turn to achieve some of their effects. So once again, if you have a 0 cost card that you can play for nothing, that's good. Yeah, so I feel it's better if you do have Grand Archer Selwyn. I would swap it out for this card if your deck can handle it. But I know some decks need the 6-drop or 5-drop slot for Grand Archer Selwyn. So and playing 8 they feel might be a little bit too much for him. So okay, I can see why. But personally, I would change this card out. I would change Grand Archer Selwyn out for this card. So next we have Elf of the Gemstones. So it's a 5-drop for 3/4. Kind of bad stats, but you see, whenever another allied follower comes into play, give it rush. Okay. The reason I think this card will actually find play is because of a problem I've seen in a few Forest Craft decks. Personally, I have played a little bit of Forest Craft. I'm not very good at it, but I have played it before. And one of the problems I find is that, say you're trying to get, you're trying to play 3 cards this turn to activate an effect, but you only have fairies in your hand with not much spells to use. And you already have 3 fairies on the board, so you only can play 2 fairies at most. And of course, those 2 fairies, you're not gonna be able to play 3 cards. So the reason why I think this card will see play is simply to free up the board a little bit. So you play this card, you play your fairies, and your fairies gain rush to give it to allow it to immediately attack into an enemy follower, which frees up more space on your board to play more things to increase the number of cards being played during this turn, which yeah, it's simply good for Forest Craft. However, stat-wise, this card's kind of bad. But otherwise, I think its effect is pretty okay. Any synergy? No, I think that's the only reason I will play. I don't see there being any other reason to. Yeah, that's about it. So next we have Mahes. Mahes, I guess. Mahes. So it's a 6-drop for 5/5. Not too bad. It has Ward, okay, that makes up for the 6 for the cost reduction. And Fanfare, deal 2 damage to all enemies if at least 2 other cards are played this turn. Okay, generally a good card. So, of course, this effect is just added if you have 2 damage to if you have played 2 other cards this turn. So yeah, it's not very hard for Forest Craft to do that. just play fairy him. Yeah, so the deal 2 damage to all enemies is nice. The 5/5 ward is also pretty good. And um, yeah, it's just generally overall a very good card. Um, I don't see any problem with him, except maybe his cost is a little bit high. I wouldn't mind if he got his costs reduced, his stats reduced, as long as he still had the same effect. Because personally, I think the 5/5 ward is okay, but the fanfare, the deal 2 damage to all enemies, is more important. Because, of course, it does help clear off your opponent's board and does set up a shield for you. So I guess it's a more defensive card. And it does say to all enemies, so it does hit the opponent's face as well. So worst case scenario, you can just use it as a 2 damage to your opponent's face and win the game, maybe. So yeah, it's overall a playable card. I don't see it really being played um, in more like very often because it's not very necessary for a deck. But it's certainly not unplayable. Its effect is good. Yeah. So next we have Crystallia Lily, one of the Crystallia cards, and it's just a 2-drop for 2/2 fair stats, and it has enhanced 6, transform an enemy follower into a snowman. So basically, you play this for 4 more extra play points, and then you have the effect of transforming an enemy follower into a snowman, where snowman is just a 1/1. So it's basically um, like a spell, a 4-cost spell that transform an enemy follower into a snowman. It's actually not too bad. The reason why I say it's not too bad is um, personally I feel Forestcraft has better options because Forestcraft, I know they have things like Pixie Mischief, where basically they have bounce followers back to hand, both yours and your opponent's. So I feel transforming enemy followers into snowman is not so necessary. Because this card, as you can see, it doesn't have much synergy with the deck. It's just a, okay, 2/2, that's fine, and then additional effect of transforming enemy follower into a snowman. That's it. It doesn't help the deck much in any way except some kind of removal. Whereas if you use things like Pixie Mischief to bounce back followers, you can actually return followers to your hand, which helps you and does annoy your opponent because you bounce whatever they've played back to their hand. So I feel there are better options for this, but this card is certainly playable. Yeah, that's it. I would play other cards over this simply because I feel other cards have more synergy in the deck than this card. This card is just a standalone removal sort of card. So yeah. Following up, we have Pegasus Elf. It's a 5-cost 3/3. Kind of bad stats. Fanfare, change an enemy follower's defense to 1. So it's kind of like a Woodkin Curse, where it's a spell, but changes an enemy follower's defense to 1. And Evolve, deal 1 damage to an enemy follower. I can see how this card will work. So basically, its Fanfare and its Evolve effect combos quite well. You change the enemy follower's defense to 1, then you deal 1 damage to the enemy follower. Yeah. I can see playing some people playing 1 copy or 2 copies of it in the deck. Reason is because how do I say this? Forestcraft has an okay amount of removal, and also not just removal, but ways to prevent the enemy from overwhelming you. As I said before, Pixie Mischief to bounce followers back to hand, and also Sylvian Justice, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. However, there are times where basically you have to clear off a follower, and you can't do it. You cause how do I say this? Forest Craft does not really have a high damage sort of spell. Like I'm pretty sure the highest damage is Silver Bolt, which is deals 7 damage to an enemy. I think that's the highest damage card that highest damage spell that Forest Craft has, and it's 9 cost, which is ridiculous. That usually is going straight for the opponent's face. So I can see why um, this card might be played, but personally, I feel just generally, this card is quite bad. The reason is because first, you're already giving up 2 worth of stats for changing an enemy's follower defense to 1. That's okay. The first effect I feel is not bad. But then you're evolving to deal 1 damage to an enemy follower, and you get minus 1/1 stats when you evolve, which is not very nice. So yeah, I don't, and it's a 5-drop as well. 5-drop is kind of important for the Forest Craft. It's kind of an important slot for the Forest Craft. For Forest Craft. Why do I add the? But yeah, I'm not very sure. I personally, I won't play this card very often, unless, of course, I see the situation or maybe something changes. But in my honest opinion, I feel this card is kind of from nearing between playable and bad. So yeah. So we have Lionel, Elf Prince, with his effect being, well, he is a 5 cost 2/2, extremely bad stats, where Fanfare, choose a Forestcraft card in your hand that costs 4 play points or less and change its cost to 0. Okay, so let's see. So how he would work is at maximum at best, he changes a 4 play point card in your hand to 0. So if you just directly subtract that from his own cost, that he becomes a 1 cost 2/2, which is very good for his if you're just talking about stats alone. And his fanfare also synergizes well with combo decks. Reason is because as I've said previously, Forestcraft does like its 0 cost cards to enable its play more cards combo sort of thing. So yeah, generally a pretty good card. The only thing I'm worried about is tempo. If on turn 5 you just play this card, it's kind of bad. I can see playing this card and then playing the 4-drop card that you change to 0 cost, then it's okay. But if on turn 5 you just play this card to change that 4-drop to 0 and save that card for a combo later, you might fall a little behind board because it's just a 2/2. It's gotta get wiped out by whatever your opponent plays, be it a 5-drop or 6-drop. And yeah. So is this the last one? No, we still have a little bit more. Next we have Felper Kitten. It's a 1-drop, 1 cost with 1/1 stats. Fanfare, gain +1/+1 if at least 2 other cards are played this turn. Don't know how I feel about this card. Like, if its effect activates, it's a 2/2 for 1, which is good, but that 2 other cards playing this turn. I'm thinking it's not a very good card. Reason is because, well, it's a 1-drop, so the only time I ever think 1-drops are to be played is 1 on the first turn, or 2 if it's some kind of spell and you need it to be you need it to fight for the board or deal damage, or 3 it's essential to your deck, like Sacred Plea in Havencraft, where it allows you to draw cards. Other than that, I do not see why this card will be played in any other deck. I mean, like for Forestcraft, fine, it's a cheap card which you can use for combos, but I would not see why you wouldn't just use a fairy. If you just play this card for its +1/+1 effects, if two other cards will play this turn, I think it's pretty bad because even if you play this on turn 3, which means like fairy discard, you're getting 4/4 worth of stats for 3, which is okay, good, but there are better options. So personally, I feel this card's kind of bad. So moving on, we have a 1-cost spell, Entangling Vines. Give a enemy follower -10/-0 until the end of turn. Enhance 5, destroyed instead. So I'll get the enhanced part out of the way first. It's basically like execute. Yeah, it's okay. Give an enemy follower -0, -10/-0 until end of turn. So how this card really doesn't need much explanation. It's kind of similar to Wood King Curse. Wood King Curse reduces the defense to 1. This card just kind of reduces the attack to 0, I guess. I say 0 because there are not many followers that have attack that is higher than 10. So I guess that's good because it allows your followers to trade into it without taking damage if you don't want to destroy it immediately. But I don't see why you would play it like over just some normal removal. 1 cost. I guess it also can be, since it's cheap, it also can be used to synergize with combos. So it's definitely playable, both for its first effect and its flexibility for having it as an execute instead. So generally, I think it's quite strong. Of course, its cheap cost does help it to become a combo fodder as well, but yeah, it's okay, can be played. So moving on, we have a 3. How many are there? I feel like I've done 1,000,001 of them. Oh Jesus. 3 more. Okay. Forest Spirit. It's a 3-drop, 3/2. Last words, put a Wood King Curse into your hand. So yeah. Okay. Um, hmm. Normally, I feel this card will be the playable arena level, simply because it's three cost for 3/2, which is reasonable stats. Its last word does put a Wood King Curse into your hand, which generates value for you, resources. But in constructed, I kind of think this card is pretty bad because it doesn't synergize with the deck. Like, how do I say this properly? Most Forestcraft decks are very combo based. They play a certain amount of cards, they activate effects. Even the Rhinoceros is a combo where they play like insane amount of cards, then play Rhinoceros, hit you in the face, bounce it back, play it again, hit you in the face. So it's a very combo based deck. This card simply does not help any combo at all. It's a little bit too expensive. For fighting for board, Forcecraft has better options. They can bounce cards back. They can make sure cards don't attack. Yeah, generally I think this card's just pretty bad in constructed. In arena though, I can tell it will probably be a good card because it generates quite some value. But in constructed, no thank you. So next we have Forest Gigas. It's a 7-cost 1/7. What? Okay, as ward and gain plus X plus 0, where X equals the number of cards in your hand. Okay, makes sense. Once again, I feel it's a pretty terrible card because you must gain it gains plus X plus 0. So at worst, okay, no, at worst it gains nothing. So it's a 7 cost 1/7 with what? Pretty terrible. At best it gains 8, which becomes a 7 cost 9/7. Uh, Not the best, I guess. Because why it's a 9/7 and not 10/7 is simply because you'll be playing this card out of your hand, which means you have 8 cards left in your hand, if assuming you had a maximum 9 before playing this card. So becomes a 9/7. Once again, I feel in Arena it might not be bad. In Constructed, it's pretty terrible because simply it has no synergistic value. Most Forestcraft cards don't play to this long, and they don't need many wards for Forestcraft because they have their own way of dealing with enemy followers, restraining their attacks, bouncing them back, destroying them immediately. So yeah, I don't see much potential for this card in Constructed. So yeah, um, I think that's it. Yeah, this card there's nothing to explain. It's just that. So yep, this will be the end of the part 3 and the total review of the Shadowverse cards. Oh yeah, there are some cards I missed, wasn't there? Yeah. Um, I guess I'll try to cover them as fast as possible. Uh, you know what? I won't cover them. I'll leave them for your own thoughts. Comment it down below. What are your opinion of the rest of the cards that I missed? So yeah, maybe I will cover. I'll cover two. I want to see these two legendaries. I haven't got time to look at them first. Blood Hungry Matriarch. Fanfare. Deal 2 damage to all enemy followers. Whenever an enemy follower is destroyed, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. Ooh. Deal 2 damage to all enemy followers. Okay, whenever an enemy follower is destroyed, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. I think this card is okay, but I don't think much of it because first it's a 7 drop for 4/5, pretty bad stats already. Its fanfare is okay, deal 2 damage to all enemy followers. Whenever an enemy follower is destroyed, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. I think this is a little bit too low to make it playable because let's see. You play it this turn, you deal 2 damage to the enemy follower. At best, you deal 5 damage to the enemy face. At best, but this doesn't always kill everything. And then next turn your enemy takes care of this, end of story. It will be strong if it sticks onto the board for long, but I don't think it will because your opponent's got to see this and be like, oh no, I have to clear it, end of story. So yeah, even if you want to set up an OTK deck with this, it means you have to deal 5 damage with his effect and be able to deal another 15 damage somehow. And remember, he's already 7 cost, so it's gotta be difficult. So this card is meh, I guess. Havencraft has Eidolon of Madness. The hell is this? Can't, it's a 5 cost 0/5. Okay. Can't attack or be attacked. Sure. At the start of your turn, evolve this follower. And okay, so evolve it to this. And then can't attack or be attacked at the end of your turn. Destroy all allied amulets. Okay, I guess this is kind of similar to like Skullfane, just that his is a fanfare. The moment you play him, he destroys all allied amulets. For this card, it will be at the start of your turn. So basically, you play him, you end your turn. Then on the start of the next turn, it evolves. Then after it evolves, at the end of your turn, which he evolved, he destroys all allied for amulets. I guess this kind of card will be better if you pair it with cards like Death Sentence because as I've said before in I think part 1, it's kind of more passive because this is at the end of your turn, which means the amulets you destroy, the effects won't activate. You like if you use the Divine Bird Song, the bird can't attack because it's the end of your turn. And this card, I feel personally, it's a little bit slow. It's probably got to be taken out by an enemy spell. Can't attack or be attacked, as you can clearly see right here. So, of course, it's protected from enemy followers by enemy spells. Nope, can take it out. So, yeah, at the end of your turn, destroy all allied amulets. It's okay, but a little bit slow. So, probably more of a late game Havencraft. Personally, I feel it's a little bit rubbish, but okay. I guess the way to keep this card alive is to probably heal it up. Hope it doesn't die to heavy removal, but of course you have cards like, oh, destroy this enemy follower. Oh, end of story. So yeah. Okay, I think that's all I'll say for this. So hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye.